What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Hope you guys are having a good one as we get ready for a pretty fun-filled show, I'll say. We're going to check out some Browns trade targets because you know what? When it's the middle of May and things are a little dry out there, you start looking around going, all right, let's have fun because you know what's fun? Making trades. Amari Cooper was a fun trade. Deshaun Watson was a fun trade. Now, I will preface with saying the likelihood of a trade seems pretty low-ish. One, the Browns don't have much draft capital to offer up anymore after giving up all that for Deshaun Watson. Two, I think Andrew Berry is pretty content with the way this roster looks. However, if some players, let's say, who we'll look at in a moment, are still on some rosters by August and teams are way more desperate to get rid of them like Baker is, and like the Browns are to get rid of Baker, maybe their value decreases a ton and Barry goes, hey, I wasn't going to trade for that player back in May or April because they were calling for a fourth. But now that it's training camp and we can get him for a seventh, yeah, I'll do it for that. So, first player up, former first-round pick Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver for the New York Giants. I know it's a bit of a stretch to have a team trade away their first-round guy just a season later, but they haven't been all that impressed with Toney so far in East Rutherford. He's been absent for much of voluntary workouts. Now, he did show up to their voluntary OTAs yesterday on Thursday, but he skipped a ton before that. He hasn't shown a lot of interest in impressing the new regime in New York, right? They got a new GM and a new coach there. Don't you think you want to show up a little early for your new boss and put on a good face? Yeah, haven't seen that from Toney, which has sparked tons of trade rumors that maybe the new regime's like, well, we didn't pick this guy, and we're kind of upset with his piss-poor efforts so far. So what if he was drafted 20th overall? We know he's got tons of talent, but I'd rather get some more picks and do a little bit of a tiny reset. Last year, Toney in his rookie season, 0 touchdowns, not a pretty season, 420 yards on 39 receptions. So I don't see the Giants likely wanting to move on from Toney after just one season, despite it being a poor season. But the guy's got tons of potential, and they're looking for that upside. Personally, I'm not interested in another headache wide receiver that's got tons of baggage off the field, and you don't really know if he's ever going to live up to the potential. I'd rather stick with the room they have right now. But if Kadarius Toney was at one point, the Giants were saying, hey, give us a second for him, and the Browns were like, well, we don't have a second to give up right now. But if in August and he's not looking good in training camp, or he's skipping workouts and whatnot, he's not looking like he's going 100%, and they go, we just want this guy off our roster, like kind of Corey Coleman, right? If it gets to that point, maybe Andrew Berry picks up the phone and makes a call. But what do you think? Should the Browns make another trade in general? Whether it's for Toney or anyone else, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And while you're down there, hit that big red button and subscribe. We are less than 150 subs away from reaching 9,000 subscribers. I greatly appreciate all of you guys who have already subbed. But if you haven't already and you want free Browns content throughout the entire offseason, we take no days off here at the Browns Report. Hit that big red button and subscribe. My next trade target is Daron Payne, the defensive tackle for the Washington Commanders. Yeah, we got a bit of a run here of first-round draft picks, and Cleveland, they need a defensive tackle. And Payne is entering the final year of his rookie contract. The fifth-year option was exercised, and that's what's happening this year. Washington is not looking to extend him, and there have been some trade rumors floating around Payne and this regime that, remember how good the Washington defense was 2 years ago? And then last year, they took a huge step back. So maybe Washington goes, hey, we're not really ready to win right now. We got Carson Wentz, but he's more of a stopgap kind of quarterback until we can get a good QB in the next year's draft class. Let's take what we can get for Payne, shake hands, move on. And the Browns, meanwhile, they're looking to win a Super Bowl right now. Last season for the Commanders, 4.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. Like I said, this entire Washington defense regressed. But Payne, former first-round pick back in 2018, he has shown some awesome flashes. And what if the Browns have 2 first-round defensive tackles on their team? Taven Bryan and Daron Payne both maybe on their second stint. But what is the Browns' bigger need right now? If they're going to make a trade, what position do you think it should be for? You want to go with wide receiver or defensive line? I'd like to remind you that we're also having that comments competition right now at Chat Sports, so take this as an opportunity to really let your voice be heard down below in the comments section. Put WR for wide receiver or DL for defensive line. I'm going to lump these next two trade targets together, N'Keal Harry and Darius Slayton. Yeah, a lot of love going to the G-men today. Both receivers who came into the league with very different expectations. Harry, a first-round pick. Slayton, a fifth-round pick. So far, it's been the fifth-round guy that has outperformed N'Keal Harry, who has just been a disappointment in Foxborough. There's really no other way around that. Now, Darius Slayton, on the other hand, you're thinking, all right, fifth-round guy who's had 13 touchdowns in 3 seasons and nearly 2,000 yards. For being a fifth-round pick, that's not too shabby right there, you know what I mean? But to me, both of these players seem like they're going one way or another. Neither of these guys, I feel, are going to be on the 53-man roster. Both teams probably looking to see who can offer them a little bit more, wait it out, stretch it out, go into into training camp. Maybe an injury happens to a team and they need a wide receiver all of a sudden. So if the Browns want to be patient and the Patriots go, hey, so before we were asking for a fourth-round pick, we're not going to get anywhere close to that. We'll take it for a 6. And Barry goes, hey, I wasn't in the business of giving up a 4th or a 5th, but I am in the business of giving up a 6th or a 7th. That's how I could see maybe one of these two guys being traded to the Browns because they don't have a ton of capital to offer. But if Barry says, you know what, I love a good value and Darius Slayton for a 7th rounder, yeah, I'll do that all day. Now, there's another opportunity here, another route or avenue of a trade happening, which is kind of like the Mack Wilson trade. Maybe a player swap. So, excluding Baker, you can put Baker if you really can't think of anyone else. Name a player you would trade away. I've seen some people talk about trading Anthony Schwartz away. I am not on that team. I don't think you punt on a third-round receiver who just had a injury-plagued first season. But if you want to, go that route, that's fine. Free speech here at the Browns Report. So let me know down in the comments section a player you would like to see the Browns trade away. We've also got an awesome deal going on with our friends over at Fanatics. If you want to get a Browns jersey, which is what producer Marshall likes to call it, so I'm going to steal it for the show as well. Because let's face it, jerseys are very expensive, and it sucks if, let's say, you got a Baker Mayfield jersey, an Odell Beckham Jr. jersey, and you catch my drift here. Well, take maybe a little bit less of a risk. By getting a jersey, you can get any name on the back, so you can get Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, or even yourself if you are your favorite own player. Just get it over at chatsports.com/Browns shirt. I put that link in the comments along with the description of the video. You can't miss it. Click it. Get it today because if you wait to do this in August, so you got a fresh jersey for the Muni lot, you may be waiting till October because we know shipping is just a nightmare right now. My final trade target, it is Robert Quinn, the defensive end for the Bears who had a sneaky good season a year ago. And to me, it seems like the Bears are in this limbo land of, well, we traded Khalil Mack away, so are we resetting? No, because we're going to keep Robert Clowney. We're going to keep Robert Quinn. But I believe Jadeveon Clowney will resign. It doesn't make sense to trade for Robert Quinn if you've already got Jadeveon Clowney back on your roster, right? That's a little bit of overkill in my opinion, especially when you got Chase Winovich and Stephen Weatherly as well, the defensive end. But I ultimately think Clowney does resign. But can I say it definitively? Can I say with a 100% guarantee? No. So I think this could end up being a mid-season trade. This would be one of those trades where if Clowney goes to Carolina because the Panthers want him and he wants to stay in his native hometown or home state of Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, you catch the point here, then maybe the Bears, who were not interested in trading Robert Quinn in the offseason, but after a 1-4 start go, wow, we are going to punt on this year. Let's get whatever we can. And the Browns, who are having a 4-1 start, go, yeah, we'll take a starting defensive end right now for way cheaper than he was before. So Jason LaConfora over at CBS had an interesting article about this I want to share with everyone. He said, I continue to hear that Quinn wants out of Chicago, and who could blame him? And there are a host of interested teams. He just turned 32 and wants to win, and he's an absolute steal this season at $13 million. If he gets dealt, the next team would likely sweeten the pot with incentives, if nothing else. People need to remember how good Robert Quinn actually was last year. 18.5 sacks. Think about that for a moment. The Bears were awful, But Robert Quinn was probably the only good thing about the Bears last year. And for $13 million, which is around what I'm guessing Clowney is going to sign for, if they can't get Clowney, but they say, well, we allocated $13 million, maybe they want to go get Robert Quinn. I don't think they've got the capital to get Robert Quinn right now because the Bears seem pretty content on holding on to him, which means if they're going to trade him away, a team would have to send them an offer they cannot refuse. The Browns don't have the capital at the moment to do that. But in October, before the NFL trade deadline, maybe at that point, what the Bears were used to be looking for drops way below, and now they're interested in trading him for a day 3 pick. But name a player you want to trade for. Is it one of the 5 guys that we identified on today's show, or you want to go off the beaten path? You want to go with someone like, I don't know, Andy Isabella, right? That's a good name right there. Former second-round pick for the Cardinals. That's another wide receiver that could be on the move. Let me know who you'd like to see the Browns trade for. And once again, hit that big red button, subscribe. We are almost at 9,000 subscribers, a big milestone, but we're not going to slow down or stop here. So hit that big red button and be one of the 148 people to help us get us across that milestone by subscribing today.